All right, gather round, you miserable lot. Because today, we're diving headfirst into one of history's greatest face plants. A true masterclass in unadulterated human gullibility. We're talking about the OG. It's just a prank bro compilation. The ancient world's most spectacular self-sabotage. The Trojan Horse. For 10 glorious, utterly pointless years, the Achaeans, let's just call them the Greeks, because we're not here for a history lesson, we here for a roast, had been fruitlessly banging their collective heads against the impregnable walls of Troy. 10 years! That's a decade of lost lives, dwindling supplies, and probably more than a few cases of scurvy and existential dread. These supposed warriors, the cream of Greek manhood, had proven themselves spectacularly incompetent at siege warfare. They couldn't storm the city, they couldn't starve it out, and frankly, they were getting bored. Probably started making TikToks in their downtime, lamenting their lack of progress. Then, out of the collective desperation and the stench of Greek military failure, emerged a plan so ludicrous, so insultingly simple, it could only have been conceived by a genius or a madman. And that, my friends, brings us to Odysseus. The poster child, for I'm not saying I'm smarter than you, but I definitely think I am. His grand idea: let's build a giant wooden horse. A colossal, hollow, equine monstrosity. And then we'll just leave it there. Like a forgotten lawn ornament, this, he reasoned, would surely trick the Trojans, who, despite managing to fend off a decade-long siege from the greatest warriors of their age, were apparently too dense to spot an obvious con. Even if it was made of timber and big enough to park a small car in. Now, pause for a moment and truly appreciate the audacity. Imagine walking up to a fortified city that has resisted you for 10 years and saying, "Hey, we're giving up, but here's a massive, suspiciously empty wooden animal as a parting gift?" No, seriously, it's totally not full of our most elite soldiers. Pinky? Promise! The sheer, unmitigated gall of it is staggering. What's even more staggering? The Trojans bought it. They actually, genuinely, with full-hearted earnestness, considered this a legitimate strategy. These were not intellectual giants. Apparently, they were the original participants in the world's longest-running reality show. Who can be the most easily bamboozled? So, the Greeks, masters of theatrical exits, packed up their tents, loaded their ships, and sailed just out of sight. Not really gone, mind you. Just far enough for the Trojans to declare victory and start patting themselves on the back. Because nothing says, "We won," like your enemy leaving behind a giant, enigmatic wooden structure that looks suspiciously like a siege engine. The Trojans, blessed their incredibly naive hearts, spilled out of their gates like kids on the last day of school. They saw the abandoned camps, the empty beaches, and there it stood. The horse, and their collective thought process, if we can even dignify it with such a term, when something like this. Oh look! The Greeks gave up, and they left us a giant wooden horse. What a thoughtful, totally unsuspicious parting gift. You can almost hear the triumphant chants, oblivious to the fact they were cheering on their own demise. This was the ancient equivalent of winning a raffle for a brand new car, only to find out it's parked over a pit of quicksand. Now, not everyone was a complete idiots. There were a few voices of reason, screaming into the void of Trojan stupidity. First up, Laocoon, a priest, probably the only guy in Troy with half a brain cell. He looked at that horse and said, "What? Are you insane? This is a trap. I fear the Greeks, even when bearing gifts." He even tried to stab the thing with a spear just to prove it was hollow. But before he could knock some sense into the collective cranium of Troy, 2 giant sea serpents conveniently slithered out of the ocean and dragged him and his sons off to their watery doom. "Oh, well," the Trojans probably mumbled. "Guess the gods really didn't like him questioning our brilliant judgment. Must be a sign that the horse is totally fine." Because Obviously, divine intervention is always about punishing common sense. Not a convenient plot device to shut up the only person who saw through a ridiculous plan. Then there was Cassandra. Poor Cassandra. Gifted with prophecy by Apollo, cursed so no one would ever believe her. She wailed. She tore at her hair. She shrieked about the city's destruction and the horrors within the horse. Did anyone listen? Of course not. She was just a crazy woman, right? Probably on the ancient equivalent of Twitter, spewing unfiltered doom-scrolling. Ignore her. She's always like this. We're celebrating. In retrospect, it's quite remarkable how thoroughly they managed to ignore every single flashing neon red warning sign. It's like watching a slasher movie and cheering for the teenagers who decide to split up in the haunted house. But the cherry on top of this magnificent stupidity sundae was Sinon. The Greeks hadn't just left a giant wooden Trojan condom, they'd left an actor. Sinon, a Greek soldier, conveniently left behind, weeping and telling a sob story about how Odysseus tried to sacrifice him to the gods. He spun a yarn so thin you could read through it, claiming the horse was a sacred offering to Athena, designed to appease the gods and ensure the Greeks' safe return home. He even added a delightful little twist. The horse was deliberately made too large to fit through the city gates, because if the Trojans didn't bring it inside, it would bring ruin upon them, but if they did, it would bring them boundless prosperity. Classic reverse psychology for the profoundly idiotic. Too good to be true? It's a trap. Seriously? Have you guys been huffing too much of that oracle smoke? These questions, naturally, never really got a fair hearing. Instead, the Trojans, convinced by this tearful, obviously lying Greek, decided that yes, their only path to victory was to dismantle a part of their own supposedly impregnable wall and haul this massive, hollow death trap on wheels into their city. You can almost hear the cheers, the drunken revelry as they celebrated their triumph and their newfound sacred protector. The ultimate trust exercise, where one side clearly failed. The night arrived. The city, having spent the day celebrating their victory and hauling their doom inside, was absolutely trashed. Drunken, exhausted, and blissfully unaware, the Trojans slept. And then, the signal. A torch flashed from the Greek fleet, which had conveniently sailed back under the cover of darkness. The trap was sprung. From the belly of the beast! Out crawled Odysseus himself, along with the very best of the Greek forces. Achilles' son Neoptolemus, Menelaus, Diomedes. They were not subtle. They didn't sneak around trying to be quiet. They were there to open the city gates from the inside, let in the rest of the army, and proceed with a brutal, systematic slaughter. This wasn't a heroic battle. It was a massacre. The Trojans, caught in a drunken stupor, barely knew what was happening before their throats were slit. They woke up to fire, steel, and the chilling realization that their celebratory trophy was, in fact, their executioner. It was less of a prank and more of an extermination event. And so, the city of Troy, which had defied the greatest army of its time for a decade, fell not to superior tactics or heroic bravery, but to its own monumental, world historical stupidity. It wasn't conquered. It committed suicide by horse. The ultimate fail compilation. The aftermath was exactly what Laocoon and Cassandra had warned about, what every sentient being on the planet should have predicted. Troy burned. Its men were slaughtered. Its women enslaved. Its children flung from the city walls. The royal line extinguished. A civilization wiped off the map. All because they couldn't see the obvious gift horse of doom staring them in the face. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the biggest threat isn't an external enemy, but your own profound, unyielding idiocy. The Trojan Horse isn't just a story. It's a timeless, brutal lesson in what happens when you ignore every red flag, when you embrace convenient lies, and when you're just too damn arrogant to admit you might be wrong. It's the original cautionary tale against believing everything you hear, especially when it comes wrapped in a suspiciously large wooden package. Humanity, of course, has learned absolutely nothing from it. We still fall for the most obvious scams, the most transparent deception, because we'd rather believe a comforting lie than confront an uncomfortable truth. The Trojan Horse reminds us that sometimes the prank bro is on you, and the punchline is the complete destruction of your world. So next time someone offers you a suspiciously good deal or a gift that seems too generous, just remember, Troy, and maybe, just maybe, don't invite it inside your walls. The more things change, the dumber we get.